Wealth is not luck. It's not chance. Wealth is discipline. To think rich is not about wishing for riches. It's about training your mind to see possibilities where others only see problems. The poor mindset says, I can't afford it. The rich mindset asks, how can I afford it? That shift in thinking opens doors. But thinking rich isn't enough. You must act smart. Acting smart means controlling your habits. Spend less than you earn. Save before you spend. Invest before you consume. Learn before you leap. Small disciplines practiced daily turn into fortunes tomorrow. Wealth is not built in a single stroke. It's brick by brick, discipline by discipline. I always tell people, don't chase money. Instead, become the kind of person money is attracted to. Because when you grow, everything else grows with you. Your opportunities, your value, and your wealth. Think in decades, not days. Guard your time like treasure. Multiply your value with new skills, new ideas, new disciplines. Because wealth is not what you get, it's who you become in the process. Wealth doesn't begin in your bank account, it begins in your mind. Long before you touch your first investment, long before you earn that extra paycheck, wealth starts as a philosophy, as a way of thinking about life, money, and opportunity. You see, the person who thinks scarcity will always live in scarcity, no matter how much money they make. They could earn $1,000 a week or $100,000 a month, but if their mindset is locked in limitation, they will never rise above their circumstances. Scarcity says there isn't enough, I must hold on, I must protect what little I have. And the tragedy of that thinking is that it blinds you to the very opportunities that could expand your life. But abundance says, there's enough to go around, there's more to create, there's more to build. Abundance doesn't ignore reality, it simply interprets reality through the lens of possibility. And that mindset shift is where wealth begins. I remember when I was broke, pockets empty, creditors calling, nothing but debt hanging over my head. It wasn't money that got me out of that situation at first, because I didn't have any. What got me out was a new philosophy. I started to study people who had created wealth, and the more I studied, the more I realized their thinking patterns were different. Where I saw obstacles, they saw challenges to overcome. Where I saw lack, they saw potential. It was almost as if they trained their minds to look for opportunities the way a miner looks for gold, hidden. But there, if you're willing to dig. So, wealth begins with training your own mind to think in terms of value, growth, and possibility. You can't always control the economy or the weather or what your government does, but you can control the way you interpret the events of your life. And that control over your thinking is where freedom starts. Here's something simple you can do. Each morning, before you rush into the demands of the day, take just 5 minutes and write down one opportunity in your life that you can expand today. It could be a relationship to nurture, a skill to sharpen, a chance to serve someone, or a project to push forward. And make it your aim to pursue that opportunity, not to dwell on your limitations. You'll be amazed at how quickly this reprograms your mind toward growth. What you dwell on becomes your destiny. If you dwell on limits, your life will shrink to fit them. If you dwell on possibilities, your life will expand to match them. Wealth begins in the mind, and the moment you choose abundance over scarcity, your journey toward freedom has already begun. One of the greatest disciplines you can ever master on your journey to wealth is learning to delay gratification. Most people do it backwards. They buy the luxuries first, and then they spend the rest of their lives trying to figure out how to pay for them. They buy the car to impress the neighbors. They buy the bigger house to feel important. They take the vacation they can't afford, all on borrowed money. And the tragedy is that those luxuries instead of bringing freedom, become chains that hold them down. The monthly payment becomes a burden, the interest becomes a thief, and before long, the very things they bought to feel wealthy are the very things that keep them poor. Wealthy people think differently. They let their assets pay for their luxuries. They understand that wages make a living, but assets make you rich. Assets are like little employees working for you around the clock. Dividends, rent checks, royalties, business profits, money that arrives without you trading another hour of your time. That's the money you want funding your pleasures. Because when you let assets pay for luxuries, you get to enjoy them without guilt, without debt, and without pressure. I remember when I wanted my first fancy car. I could have gone to the dealer, signed the papers, and driven off that day. But instead, I made myself a promise. I wouldn't buy that car until my investments were throwing off enough income to cover the payments without touching my wages. And I'll tell you something, it took longer than I wanted. But when that day finally came and I bought it cash from the returns of my investments, it wasn't just a car. It was proof of discipline, proof of philosophy, proof that patience pays. That car represented freedom instead of debt. And the lesson stuck with me. If you want to enjoy the good life, let your assets buy it for you. So here's something you can do right now. The next time you feel the itch to buy something you want but don't need, maybe the new gadget, the clothes, the night out, pause. Take that same money and put it into an investment account. Even if it's a small amount, start training yourself to let money work before you let it play. Redirect just one want this month into something that can grow. Do that consistently, and you'll find your future filled with more luxuries than you ever imagined. And none of them will cost you your freedom. The secret is simple. Don't let today's desires rob you of tomorrow's wealth. Build the assets first, then let them pay for the pleasures. That's how you live rich without ever going broke. One of the oldest fables I ever heard as a boy was about the goose that laid the golden eggs. The farmer was blessed every morning. He would walk out and find another golden egg waiting. But his impatience and short-sightedness got the best of him, and instead of protecting the goose, he killed it to try and get all the gold at once. Of course, he lost both the goose and the eggs. That story may sound simple, but it contains one of the greatest wealth lessons you'll ever learn. It's not just about making money, it's about protecting the source of it. So many people work hard, earn well, maybe even invest a little, but then they neglect the very foundation that sustains it all. They have no insurance to shield them when life throws its punches, no legal structure to protect their business from risks, no tax plan to keep more of what they earn. One illness, one accident, one lawsuit, one poor tax decision, and years of hard work can vanish overnight. That's what happens when you enjoy the golden eggs but forget to guard the goose. I'll never forget sitting with a man who built a successful business from scratch. He was brilliant at selling, incredible at growing revenue, and disciplined in saving. But he ignored the advice to get proper insurance and financial protection. Then one unexpected lawsuit came, and in a matter of months, everything he had spent decades building was gone. It wasn't because he lacked ability or drive, it was because he never took the time to protect what he had built. That's a mistake you don't want to make. Here's the wisdom. Offense builds wealth, but defense preserves it. You need both. Defense is setting up proper structures, keeping good records, and working with professionals who know how to safeguard your assets. Defense is having health insurance, life insurance, liability coverage, and an emergency fund. Defense is not flashy, and it doesn't always feel exciting, but it's what makes sure you can keep enjoying the fruits of your labor for the long term. So here's a simple action you can take. Schedule one meeting this month with a financial advisor, a tax planner, or an insurance professional. Sit down and ask, how can I better protect the goose that lays my golden eggs? It may cost you some time and maybe a little money up front, but that small investment in protection can save you years of regret later. Wealth is not measured only by how much you make. It's measured by how much you keep and how well you guard the source of it. Protect the goose, and the golden eggs will keep coming. I learned early in life that wealth isn't just a number in a bank account. It's energy that flows. Money, like water, has to move or it stagnates. And the remarkable thing is, when you direct it outward through value and service, it circles back multiplied. The more generous you are, the more abundant your life becomes. Not just in cash, but in opportunity, relationships, and influence. One of the greatest lessons I ever absorbed came from the idea that the universe, or life itself, seems to reward those who give consistently and wisely. Too often, people think they need to wait until they're rich before giving. I've seen countless folks hold back, thinking, I'll contribute once I have more. But here's the paradox. Giving fuels growth. By committing a portion of your income to causes you care about, you train yourself in abundance, not scarcity. It changes your mindset. When you see a part of your earnings dedicated to creating value for others, your mind stops seeing money as a finite resource and starts seeing it as a tool for multiplying impact. I remember a friend who began donating just 5% of his income to educational programs in his community. He wasn't wealthy yet by conventional measures, but within a few years, opportunities he never imagined began to appear. People wanted to do business with him, partnerships emerged, and he was suddenly in environments that elevated his skills and thinking. The act of giving created trust, goodwill, and influence. The kind of wealth that compounds faster than money alone. The strategy is simple but profound. Integrate generosity into your financial plan as a non-negotiable discipline. Don't wait to feel like it. Don't treat it as an afterthought. Decide what percentage you'll give, 5%, 10%, or even more, and make it automatic. Commit to a cause you truly believe in, whether it's education, healthcare, community development, or mentorship. Let your giving become consistent and purposeful. Remember, wealth is not measured solely by what you keep, but by what you release in service to others. The more wisely and consistently you give, the more life opens doors, opportunities, and resources you never imagined. Choose today to unlock abundance through generosity, and watch how your world begins to multiply. I want to share with you one of the most profound truths about wealth. It is fleeting if measured only in currency, but it becomes eternal when measured in wisdom and influence. Money can be earned, spent, and lost, but the principles, disciplines, and habits you instill in others live far beyond your lifetime. I learned early that accumulating wealth is only half the journey. The other half is ensuring that what you build has a lasting impact. True wealth is measured by the lives you touch and the minds you shape. Think about it. A fortune can vanish in a day, but a single lesson taught to a child, a mentee, or even a community can ripple through generations. I recall a friend who taught his children the simple habit of saving 10% of every paycheck. That small principle, consistently applied, became a foundation for their financial independence and a mindset of abundance that no market crash could erase. It's not the numbers you leave behind, it's the knowledge and the habits that endure. The strategy is straightforward, but it requires intentionality. Identify one principle you know will create long-term success. Saving before spending, disciplined investing, giving generously, or continuously learning. Don't just keep this knowledge to yourself. Teach it, discuss it, write it down, and repeat it. Document it, so that even when you're not there, the lesson can guide and inspire others. Whether it's your children, your team at work, or your community, your influence can extend far beyond your own accomplishments. Many people accumulate wealth but fail to pass on wisdom, and it dies with them. But those who focus on creating a legacy, who prioritize principles over possessions, will leave a footprint that time cannot erase. I've seen that the greatest joy of success isn't the comforts it brings, but the capacity to shape others' futures positively. So this week, take deliberate action. Share one financial principle with someone in your circle. Teach, mentor, and document it. Build a legacy of wisdom that outlasts currency. Because the wealth you leave in minds and habits is the only wealth that truly stands the test of time. Curiosity is the engine of opportunity. And in the realm of wealth, it's the spark that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Many people work hard, but they work blindly, repeating routines without ever asking why or how. I've learned that the questions you ask and the curiosity you cultivate determine the doors that open before you. Benjamin Franklin once said, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." Curiosity is that investment. Every time you ask, "How does this work? Why is this successful? What can I do differently?" You're planting seeds that can grow into income streams, partnerships, or innovations. Think about it practically. Early in my career, I didn't know much about sales, business systems, or personal finance. But I was relentlessly curious. I asked questions of everyone who had achieved what I wanted. I studied their methods, their habits, their mindset. One conversation with a mentor about the power of compounding investments led me to automate my savings and put money to work before I even thought about spending it. That single question and the willingness to act on the answer multiplied my income and taught me lessons that no classroom could. The strategy is to turn curiosity into a disciplined habit. Seek out those ahead of you, not to imitate blindly, but to learn deeply. Study how businesses grow, how investments compound, how people create leverage in life. Each question you ask is a key, each answer a step on the ladder of wealth. By doing so, you train your mind to see opportunities where others see problems and to think in terms of growth instead of limitation. For practical application, choose 3 successful people this week, mentors, colleagues, or even authors, and ask one insightful money question to each. Listen carefully. Apply one piece of advice immediately. Don't wait. Curiosity without action is like a seed that never leaves the packet. Curiosity coupled with execution becomes cash flow, opportunity, and wisdom. Remember, wealth is not just about what you know. It's about how relentlessly you pursue knowledge and apply it. Curiosity creates doors. Action opens them. Make this week the start of a habit that will turn questions into opportunities, insight into investments, and curiosity into your most profitable asset. Invisible wealth is the foundation upon which visible riches are built. Many people chase money, believing that wealth begins with cash in the bank. But I've learned the truth the hard way. Without skills, reputation, and relationships, money slips through your hands like water. Skills make you valuable, reputation makes people trust you, and relationships open doors that money alone cannot. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Excellence in your character, your skills, and your connections is the invisible capital that compounds quietly, rewarding you for a lifetime. Think about it practically. Early in my career, I had very little money, but I focused on becoming someone worth knowing, someone reliable, someone who could deliver more than expected. I studied, practiced, and sought mentorship relentlessly. I cultivated a reputation for integrity, discipline, and competence. I invested in learning, improving communication, and understanding people's needs. I formed relationships with mentors, colleagues, and clients who later became gateways to opportunities I could never have imagined. That invisible wealth, skills, credibility, and connections paid me far more than any paycheck alone. The strategy is simple. Prioritize invisible assets first. Treat every skill, every relationship, every reputation-building act as an investment. Attend that seminar, mentor someone, read that book, offer value without expectation, and consistently demonstrate reliability. These assets don't deplete, they compound. One connection can lead to multiple opportunities. One skill mastered can multiply your income potential. And a strong reputation can open doors long after you've left a position. For practical action, choose one invisible asset to grow this month. Perhaps it's a new skill like sales, finance, or leadership. Perhaps it's nurturing a relationship with someone whose insight can accelerate your growth. Or maybe it's taking deliberate steps to enhance your personal brand or credibility in your industry. Track your progress, practice daily, and watch how this unseen wealth translates into opportunities, income, and freedom. Remember, visible wealth is fleeting. Invisible wealth endures. Build the unseen first, and everything else will follow. Thinking like an owner, even when you're an employee, is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make on the path to wealth. Too many people treat work as a mere paycheck, showing up with minimal effort and doing only what's required. But the truth is, your attitude and initiative determine how opportunities find you. As the philosopher Seneca said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. When you act like an owner, you prepare yourself for opportunities that others simply cannot see. I learned this lesson early in my career when I was working for someone else, struggling to climb the ladder. I realized that if I treated every task, every interaction, and every challenge as if the business were mine, I would develop skills, habits, and a reputation that no job title could give me. I started taking initiative, suggesting improvements, and delivering more than expected. Colleagues and superiors began to notice. Doors that had previously been closed started to open, not because I demanded them, but because I had demonstrated ownership in action. The philosophy here is clear. Wealth isn't just about money. It's about cultivating a mindset that sees responsibility as opportunity. When you think like an owner, you stop limiting yourself to the instructions on a job description and start finding ways to improve systems, reduce waste, and create value. This mindset turns ordinary work into training for entrepreneurship, leadership, and financial independence. The strategy is simple. Act as if every decision you make could impact the company's bottom line. Take pride in results, anticipate problems, and offer solutions. Owners think about growth, sustainability, and efficiency, and you can start doing the same even without the title or the equity. For practical action this week, identify one area in your work where you can add value as though the business were yours. Perhaps it's improving a process, helping a colleague, or presenting an idea that could increase efficiency or revenue. Document it, act on it, and observe how your initiative sets you apart. Remember, wealth follows those who think and act like owners long before they actually own the company. Start today, and opportunities will begin to multiply. Wealth is not a response to need. It is a response to value. The marketplace doesn't reward your problems or your personal bills. It doesn't say, you need this, so here's money. Money flows to those who create something others are willing to exchange for, to those who solve problems, fulfill desires, or deliver excellence. As the philosopher Aristotle said, pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. When you focus on what you can give, not what you lack, you align yourself with the natural flow of abundance. Early in my life, I learned this lesson the hard way. I once spent countless hours complaining about how little I was earning, how expensive life was, and how unfair circumstances felt. I was frustrated and stagnant, but when I shifted my thinking to ask, how can I provide more value? Everything changed. I began improving my skills, finding ways to help clients succeed, and offering solutions that others weren't thinking about. Slowly, the money followed, not because I needed it, but because I was creating something worth paying for. The strategy is simple but profound. Stop measuring your work by the paycheck you need and start measuring it by the value you create. Are you making processes smoother, helping others achieve results, or innovating in your field? The more value you produce, the more the marketplace rewards you. It's not transactional, it's about impact. For a practical step this week, write down 3 ways you can increase the value you provide, whether at work, in business, or in your personal enterprise. Implement one immediately. Perhaps it's solving a persistent problem, enhancing customer experience, or learning a skill that allows you to contribute more meaningfully. Document the results, observe the feedback, and adjust. Remember, wealth is attracted to value, not need. Focus on being indispensable, improving the lives and businesses around you, and the financial reward will follow. It's not about how much you want, it's about how much you give. Start creating more value today. Relying on a single source of income is like walking a tightrope without a safety net. Life is unpredictable, and the wages you earn today may not last tomorrow. As the saying goes, do not put all your eggs in one basket. True financial security comes from multiple streams of income, a combination of wages, investments, businesses, and even royalties. Each stream acts like a supporting pillar, giving you stability and freedom. The wealthy don't rely on one paycheck. They create several flows that compound over time. Early in my journey, I realized that working harder at my job alone would never make me wealthy. I had to leverage my time and skills to create opportunities outside my paycheck. I started by investing in small ventures, learning about stocks, and exploring ways to monetize knowledge. At first, these streams were small, but consistent effort and reinvestment allowed them to grow into meaningful contributions to my net worth. The lesson is clear. Start small, but start multiple. The strategy is to identify areas where your skills, knowledge, or capital can generate another stream of income. Perhaps it's teaching, consulting, writing, or investing in dividend-paying assets. Each new stream doesn't just provide money, it teaches you discipline, expands your network, and strengthens your financial acumen. The multiplier effect is powerful. One stream can lead to another as you learn and apply what works. For a practical step this week, brainstorm 2 potential side income ideas that align with your skills and interests. Evaluate them for feasibility. Start small and commit to testing one within 30 days. Document progress. Refine your approach and stay consistent. Even small successes compound over time. Remember, financial security isn't about working harder at one thing. It's about building multiple streams. The goal isn't just to survive, but to create freedom, flexibility, and resilience. Start expanding your income today and watch your wealth grow steadily and safely. When it comes to building wealth, one of the most overlooked principles is that you must first learn the language of money. Money is not just paper, coins, or numbers in a bank account. Money has its own vocabulary, its own grammar, its own way of communicating opportunities and risks. If you cannot understand this language, if you do not speak it fluently, then money will slip through your fingers. Ignorance in financial matters is costly. Many people earn well, but never truly understand the mechanisms that make money work for them. They may have good intentions, but without understanding concepts like equity, cash flow, return on investment, and compounding, they are navigating a ship in a storm without a compass. In my own life, I learned this lesson the hard way. Early on, I thought simply working harder would create wealth. I had ambition, I had drive, but my ignorance about how money actually functions led me to make mistakes. I bought things I did not understand, signed agreements I could not fully read, and invested without knowledge. Each mistake was a tuition payment, and though painful, it was also a wake-up call. I realized that knowledge, not just effort, is what allows money to grow and work for you. That's when I committed to learning the language of money, studying financial statements, learning investment terms, understanding how businesses operate, and grasping the principles of compounding. Every hour I invested in understanding these concepts multiplied in value over the years. The strategy is simple. Dedicate yourself to learning one financial concept at a time. Start with equity, understand ownership and the power it gives you. Then move to cash flow, the lifeblood of any investment or business. Learn about return on investment so you can measure whether your money is working efficiently for you. Understand compounding so you see how small amounts invested consistently over time can create extraordinary results. But don't just read or listen. Internalize these concepts until they become natural. The real magic happens when you can explain them to someone else. If you can teach it, you own it. The practical step is to choose one concept this week. Dive deep into it. Read about it. Watch lectures. Ask questions. And then articulate it to a friend, family member, or colleague. You will find that as you explain it, your understanding solidifies, and your ability to spot opportunities or avoid mistakes grows. Money is like a conversation. The more fluent you are, the more doors it opens. Knowledge transforms fear into confidence and confusion into clarity. By mastering the language of money, you place yourself in a position of control. You are no longer a passive participant hoping for luck. You become an active creator, capable of seeing opportunities others miss. Begin today, learn the language, and let money respond to your understanding, not your uncertainty. One of the most powerful ways to grow your wealth is not just to learn, but to teach what you learn about money. There is a principle I have always lived by. Knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. When you take the time to understand a financial principle and then pass it on to someone else, something remarkable happens. You reinforce the lesson in your own mind, you clarify your thinking, and you embed the discipline needed to act on it consistently. The act of teaching transforms theoretical knowledge into practical wisdom. It's one thing to read about saving, investing, or building assets. It's another thing entirely to explain it clearly to someone else. When you teach, you solidify your own habits while inspiring action in others. I remember when I first started studying wealth-building principles. I took meticulous notes on budgeting, investments, and compounding. At first, I kept this knowledge to myself, thinking it was enough just to apply it. But then I shared a simple lesson about saving 10% of income with a young colleague who was struggling to manage his finances. Explaining it to him forced me to think through the steps more clearly. I realized that in teaching, I wasn't just helping him, I was reinforcing my own discipline. I had to practice what I preached to be credible. The process of teaching created a feedback loop that strengthened my financial habits and sharpened my understanding of money. The strategy is to find ways to share what you learn. Start with small lessons. How to track expenses, the difference between assets and liabilities, or the power of compounding. Share with family, friends, co-workers, or mentees. Encourage questions and discussion, because questions challenge your understanding and push you to think critically. Mentoring someone financially is not only a gift to them, it's a test of your own mastery. Teaching demands clarity, consistency, and conviction. You cannot successfully convey a lesson you do not fully grasp. Each time you explain a concept, you evaluate your understanding, refine it, and commit it to long-term memory. The practical step is simple. This week, write down one financial lesson that has impacted your life. Perhaps something about saving first, investing wisely, or managing debt. Then find someone who could benefit from this insight and share it with them. Explain it clearly, give examples from your experience, and encourage them to take action. Observe their reactions and answer their questions. This process not only multiplies the impact of your knowledge, but strengthens your own financial habits. Remember the words of Benjamin Franklin, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." When you teach what you learn, the interest compounds, not only in your own life, but in the lives of everyone you touch. Begin today. Pass on what you know, and watch your wealth of knowledge and your actual wealth grow in ways you never imagined. True wealth is never just about the numbers in your bank account. I have learned over the years, and experienced it personally, that money that only accumulates, that never circulates, eventually loses its power. Wealth that is hoarded without contribution grows cold. It is like a river that stops flowing. The energy stagnates, and the life it could nourish is lost. Real financial freedom is inseparable from the principle of giving. Contribution is not an optional add-on. It is a vital part of the wealth-building process. Generosity is the circulation system of money. It allows resources to move, opportunities to expand, and blessings to multiply. As the saying goes, it is in giving that we receive. When you integrate giving into your financial life, something remarkable happens. Your perspective changes, your value to the world increases, and wealth becomes a tool for influence and impact, not just a symbol of personal success. The strategy is straightforward. Build contribution into your financial system from the very start, rather than treating it as an afterthought. Wealth that is reactive, spent only on wants or held back for fear of loss, rarely brings lasting fulfillment. Instead, wealth that is proactive, consciously shared, creates growth and influence. Consider every dollar as energy. If it flows through value and service, it multiplies. If it stagnates in fear, it withers. I have seen countless examples from my own life and the lives of others who understood this principle. When I began committing a percentage of my income to causes I believed in, I noticed that new opportunities seemed to appear more frequently. Relationships strengthened, trust deepened, and doors opened that no calculation could have predicted. Giving, when done with thought and consistency, is a catalyst for both personal growth and financial expansion. The practical step is simple but transformative. Choose one cause, an organization, a community project, or even mentoring an individual, and commit a consistent percentage of your income to it. Treat it like an automatic expense, just as you would an investment. The discipline of regular giving builds character, aligns your priorities, and keeps your wealth circulating. It does not matter if the contribution seems small. What matters is consistency and intention. As you give, observe the ripple effect it creates. Notice how your own attitude toward money changes. You begin to see resources not merely as things to be accumulated, but as tools for influence, service, and lasting impact. Remember the words of Andrew Carnegie, "No man becomes rich unless he enriches others. True wealth is measured not only by what you keep, but by the lives you touch along the way. Integrating generosity into your financial life transforms money from a static object into a living force that empowers, inspires, and creates opportunity. Begin today. Pick a cause, commit a percentage of your income, and watch not just your wealth, but your life flourish in ways that accumulate far beyond dollars. As we draw this conversation to a close, let me leave you with a thought that has guided me through every twist and turn in life. Wealth is never an accident, and it is never purely about money. Wealth is about philosophy, discipline, and the person you become while building it. You see, if you earn a fortune with the wrong philosophy, you will likely lose it. But if you earn even a modest amount with the right philosophy, you have the foundation to multiply it exponentially. Every dollar you save, every skill you learn, every disciplined habit you cultivate is a seed. And like any seed, it requires patience, attention, and care. The world's wealthiest people are not those who stumbled into fortune. They are those who mastered themselves first. Look, the principles we have discussed are simple, but simplicity does not mean ease. You must act consistently. You must show up every day, making the small decisions that compound into extraordinary results. If you track your net worth, commit to personal growth daily, invest in assets before liabilities, and give as consistently as you invest, you are on the path to true financial freedom. Remember, money is a tool, not a master. Its power is determined by the person wielding it. Focus on becoming a person who can handle wealth, and wealth will follow. I have learned, as I'm sure many of you will discover, that the journey of self-discipline, study, and contribution transforms far more than your bank account. It transforms your character, your confidence, and your ability to impact the world. Now, I want you to think carefully about your habits. Ask yourself, are you practicing the daily disciplines that will compound your wealth? Or are you letting distractions, indulgence, and procrastination steal your future from you? Every day you delay action, you give away the compounding advantage of time. Every day you choose to read, learn, save, invest, or mentor someone else, you are building invisible assets, reputation, skills, relationships that will pay dividends for decades. Wealth is not a single act. It is a lifestyle, a mindset, a consistent way of choosing value over need, long-term results over short-term gratification, contribution over accumulation. So here is the call to action. Start today. Take one principle from this conversation and put it into practice immediately. If you have not yet defined your wealth vision, write it down. Decide exactly what financial freedom looks like. What net worth target excites you? And what giving goal lights up your heart? Automate a portion of your income into investments and learning. Start tracking every dollar, every habit, and every lesson. Share one principle of wealth with someone you care about. Build one invisible asset this week, whether it is a skill, a network connection, or reputation. Begin the journey of deliberate contribution. Commit a small percentage of your income to giving. Remember, fortune favors the disciplined, the curious, the proactive. True wealth arrives not to those who hope, but to those who act. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Let your habits, your decisions, and your actions today build the freedom and prosperity you seek. Start now, take control, and refuse to let another day pass without moving closer to your vision. Wealth is not a destination. It is a person you become. Become that person, and wealth will follow. The choice is yours. Start building your future today.